All right, Athens, tell us your story. A podcast featuring the people of Athens and Limestone County, Alabama. The stories are as unique as the people themselves, but they all reveal the character, the culture, and the distinct voices of a classic Southern community.
My name is Helga Stover. It's a good German name, but I've been in this area since 1963. I have lived in Madison County and in Limestone County now almost 5 years. And I've been in America since 56. A long time. I still got my German accent. I can't get over that. I married an American when I was 20 years old in Germany. My husband was born and raised on Sand Mountain in Boas, in that particular area. And we lived then in Huntsville until he passed away 15 years ago, and my health issues got so where I had to have some assistance, and I live now with my youngest daughter in Athens. Well, where I'm from Bavaria, and I was born and raised in Augsburg, which is actually one of the oldest cities in Germany. It was founded by Augustus Vindelicorum. It was the original name, but Caesar Augustus happened to settle in that area because we had two rivers come together and join, and I guess wherever they settled they needed water, so that was a good location. And Augsburg is a beautiful old town. I remember, of course, the war in Germany. I was a child. The war, when it broke out in Germany in 1939, I was 4 years old, but I lived through all the air raids and the bombardments, and we were driven from our home and what have you. I remember that, but I think the age I was in, it didn't affect me as bad as maybe my brother, who was 6 years older. He was a teenager. But when I met my husband, he was stationed in Germany on the last few months of his tour, and I guess he decided to marry me. And when I came from Germany in 1956 to Boas and Albertville, and actually his parents lived in a little place called Rabbit Town. I don't know if anybody knows where it is. It was a culture shock. Believe me, it was a culture shock. I have never, ever ate the type of food they ate. I mean, we were hungry and starving, but we didn't grow corn. I never had pinto beans. I never had okra. And now it's some of my favorite food. But I had to get adjusted, but I did. And we were very fortunate. We settled in Huntsville, which in 1963 was basically still a smaller town than what it is now. Now I don't even drive there anymore because it's crazy. The traffic is wild over there. But, you know, originally being from Germany, of course I'm American. I lived here so long and my children were born here and what have you. But it's interesting to know how people from the old country settled here. And I got a little magazine right here at the senior center, and it talked about the Germantown. Quite interesting. It's out toward Ardmore. Apparently, there were 40 families from Germany that located there in 1890s, and apparently created a German village. And it was well known in 1910 and so that they had used the land that they bought for maybe $2 an acre. And somehow or another they had vineyards. They grew their own hop for making beer, which is necessary for the Germans. And it became Germantown. And right now there is still the German cemetery out there where only the descendants of the Germans are in. And they don't have any more room to be buried, but because I guess most of these descendants are now married to Americans and they're not straight Germans anymore. But there's, I believe, graves for 185 Germans that came originally from Germany. It's about 17 miles from Athens. A lot of people over here I talk to don't even know about it. And I think it's still on the map. It's out toward Ardmore. And it's quite interesting. It just looks like any other cemetery. But the history of it is quite interesting. And a lot of people I talked to in the past, they all say, oh, my grandfather or great-grandfather came from Germany. And they're basically descendants of those people that came in the 1890s. It's part of this county. And I believe there is another cemetery where a lot of Germans are buried, but that one in particular was the original cemetery. And now, quite frequently, when I talk to somebody, and of course they recognize that I have an accent, they say, oh, my grandfather or my grandmother or somebody, in their background, they came from Germany. But unfortunately, they say, I don't know where they were from exactly. When I say, what part of Germany? They don't know. And it probably is going to same thing happen to my grandchildren or great-grandchildren. Well, I tell you, I was fortunate that I was able to come over here with nothing. Absolutely. 2 suitcases, nothing. And I was able to build my own little business, such as it was. I ran a business since 1971, and I retired when I was 65. And my daughter, she took over, but I had my own business. Where could you do that other than in America? And I was just very, very lucky. Absolutely, yeah. When I came over here, like I said, I live with my daughter, but we go out to eat to little places. And it's always interesting when you find a nice little restaurant, and some of them are just what I call a hole in the wall. But they got good food, I can tell you where the best biscuits are baked. You want to know? If you want to go to Rogersville, there's a little place called Fat Cat. Go for breakfast there. That biscuits melt in your mouth. And then they make something you may not ever had. It's called chocolate gravy. My daughter and my grandson, that's what they go for. The main thing I enjoy still at my age, I grow flowers. I have a little flower garden. Oh. I even went to the farmer's market and sat up on Tuesday and sold my plants, and I met people. Yeah, except when it got triple digits this summer, I had to kind of slow down because that was just too hard for me to handle. I used to, probably 50 years ago, be a master gardener. I don't know what that means, but now I can't even remember half the names, but I enjoyed it, You meet nice people, and I met a lot of people who bought some of my plants. I raise perennial flowers. In other words, I raised irises and daylilies and coral bells and helleborus. That was my flowered thing. And I just always enjoyed growing flowers. I still do. And you meet a lot of people who like flowers, and so you have something to talk about. In Limestone County now, what I love about it? Well, for one thing, I think the people are extremely friendly. Huntsville has gotten so big, so quick, that somehow or another it lost the small town charm. It just lost it. It was there when I first moved there, but not anymore. I can only talk about the people right here at the senior center or people you meet in Athens. They still say hello and talk to you, I happen to live on the river. I'm lucky enough to live right on Tennessee River. My son-in-law happened to have a pontoon boat where we go out on the river, and what the most beautiful thing is, we live in an area which is part of TVA Wildlife Reserve. And I see the migrating birds by the hundreds and thousands. Now, they haven't come yet, but I don't know if you ever heard of the white pelicans. They come by the thousands, and they happened to literally just land right in front of my windows, because there is a small area, a slough area, and I can watch how they drive the fish into the lower area, and then they go into a feeding frenzy. And it's really amazing. And they're only there in the fall, 2, maybe 3 days. Then they're gone. But they're the white pelicans. I don't know if you ever saw them, but they're big birds. Then we have different kind of little ducks. I'm not that familiar what kind they are, but they come in big flocks. They stay there, and then they're gone. I'm grateful for my daughter and my son-in-law who took me in, so to speak. They had a relative small house, but the house that they live in was built in 1853. So they got one of those beautiful little antique houses right on the river. And so we added what we call the mother-in-law apartment. And the boats go by, and the people wave, and I wave back. And, it's just nice. You feel you don't really know their name necessarily, but you know them because they're the same way you are, friendly. And it's my home.
You've been listening to All Right Athens, produced by the Athens-Limestone County Public Library. If you or anyone you know would like to be featured on our podcast, please visit our website at alcpl.org for ways to submit your story. All Right Athens is part of our Library Voices series and available on your favorite podcast platform.